introduction to civics. Civics is the study of how to be a citizen in the country that you live in, which for most of us, here anyway, is the United States of America. We want to learn how our government works for lots of different reasons, like so they can't take advantage of us. We want to be able to be contributors to society. Or at the very least, we want to not be a skid mark on the underpants of society, which is what I mentioned in the parent video. So that's what we're going to be learning about. Now for this week and next week, this is how we're going to start. Our government is a system of checks and balances. Write that down. That's like the way that we do it. It's a system, it's a type. Checks and balances. Now you may have heard that we're a democracy, and that's partially true. You may have heard that we're a republic. Partially true as well. It's actually a lot of different things are involved in checks and balances. And that's what we're going to navigate over the next year. We're going to start out by taking a look at what existed before checks and balances. Why did our founding fathers and mothers feel like they needed to make something new? Well, this brings us to what I call the big stick method of government. Write that down. The big stick method of government, which is something that I came up with myself, essentially means that whoever has the biggest stick gets to make the rules. And that's it. That's how you do government. And this goes way back in time, right? You think about people in the caves, and they're like, ugh, and they go and they hunt down their own food. Who got to make the rules? Well, probably the person who was like the tallest or something. Like back then would have been 4 feet 2 inches. If they had like the V-shaped body and some pectoral muscles, and they could punch somebody in the throat and the person fall over. So then they get to make the rules. Let's just call this person Gunther, okay? Gunther is the most powerful person. He's got the big stick. And maybe it was actually like a really big stick. And if somebody tried to talk smack, he'd be like, "Taka," and take him out at the knees. So Gunther gets to make the rules. Well, fast forward a couple thousand years, and the big stick becomes an army. Whoever has control of the army gets to make the rules. And enforce the rules, of course. Kick out the rule breakers, the rebels, or whoever has the right last name. That's the big stick, right? I was born into the right family, so I get to make all the rules. As far as everybody else goes, they should have thought of that before they became peasants. Okay? What does that got to do with me? And they get to make any kind of rule that they want. They get to enforce it any way that they want. And this leads to two main problems. There's some benefits of that system. A monarchy, an empire, to be sure. And we'll talk about that later. There's some benefits. But there are two glaringly obvious problems. Number one, power goes to people's heads. It makes people crazy. And you might think, no, if I was given power, I would be a good ruler. I would be kind and just. That's possible, but it's not probable. Because if we look statistically, or historically, for example, we have example after example after example of that not being true for most humans. Power goes to people's heads. Now, when I asked you in our very first assignment what I believe, I said, tell me what you think about humans. Are they good? Are they bad? Most of you said middle. Most humans are pretty good. Some are terrible. But for the most part, people are, kind of good. Okay, let me ask you that same question, but in a little bit different way. What are most people like when they get power? And instantly, right? Instantly you have a different feeling because power does the same thing to every human. It's like it's a response inside of us. And it's not good for the most part, at least when we have too much of it, or maybe when we have access to it too quickly and we don't know how to use it yet. So power does something to humans. Think about this. Think about when you're at a friend's house or you're at your house and the parents say, we're going to go on a date night. Parents never go on date nights. We're going to go to Costco. Make a fun Costco trip. They're going to go and get hummus cups or whatever. And your brother's in charge. The door shuts And as soon as that happens, brother gets on his I'm in charge pants and starts acting strange, right? I mean, my older brother is a wonderful, compassionate, loving person. And when he was in charge, he used to make up tortures and then name them after Minnesota Twins players. And one of them, he would roll me up in a blanket like a burrito, and he'd pick up the feet and he'd kick me in the butt. That was the Gary Gaetti. Another one, the Kent Herbeck, he would pin me down and he'd spit and like let it until it drizzled down, and then when it got almost to my, he'd like, suck it back up, except sometimes it actually fell. And I doubt that he remembers any of this conveniently. But, he was in charge, so he got his I'm in charge pants on. It makes people crazy. This is really important to think about for a second, because this is what the founding fathers and mothers were dealing with back in 1776. The big stick method. What I say goes. That's what they were dealing with. And they didn't want that anymore. They wanted to try something new, something different. And the concept that peasants could rule themselves was so crazy. What? You're going to have a government where people are in charge of themselves. The response to that idea at the time was that's a terrible idea. People are stupid. People like blood sausage. I mean, drive down Highway 10 on Memorial Day weekend. People make terrible decisions. They don't use their blinkers. They don't know how to zipper merge. Just behind the wheel, it's easy to see. The idea that peasants could rule themselves was this is going to last a week, But I want you to think about if you were in this position where you had power. I mean, we all have pet peeves. We all have things that we would do or make other people do or not let anybody do if we were the ones that had the big stick. I hate GRAPE flavored candy. And obviously I don't eat it then, but I also hate the way it smells. And if someone is within 30, 40 feet of me and has a GRAPE Jolly Rancher, I can smell it. And I hate it. Okay? It's so gross. If I was in charge, gone. Boom. Done. GRAPE flavored beverages like Shasta, out of there. Done. And think about teenagers. I have some ideas of how to make the school day maybe a little bit different. How about we spend a whole year as teenagers picking rock? I mean, I think that would benefit society. There's lots of rock to be picked. It's a great exercise for people to do. You maybe be, thankful for life and the great outdoors and school. I mean, I'm a genius, basically. So yes, I have some ideas. But I want you to think about what you would do with your pet peeves. So in the assignment, if I ran the world, you're going to take a little time. What would you do? 10 commandments. Things that people have to do, things people cannot do. 10 rewards and punishments for people who obey the rules or don't. Okay? Think about this. Think about national anthem. If you're in charge, you get to pick the national anthem. Think about a song that would kind of encompass what this country would look like, or this empire, if you were running it. What would your national anthem be? What would you make the peasants call you? I mean, you get to choose all of those things, right? So let your mind wander with that a little bit and tell me what you think. But this is an important stepping stone to figuring out why our founding fathers and mothers were so passionate about leaving this system behind.